Welcome to the Mom Founders Table. Pull up a chair and join me every week as I become your thought partner and help you lead to create change. I'm your host, Kelsey Kenry, entrepreneur, millionaire mom of three, and strategic business coach for established mom entrepreneurs. Every week, you will get tactical guidance to apply to your business, leadership, and life that will help you further your true success while also being invited into a new way of thinking and being that creates true freedom. I'm here to call you out and call you up, so take a seat and let's begin. Welcome back to another episode of the Mom Founders Table. And this week we are diving into all about responsibility. We're talking about letting go of responsibilities that are not serving you. We're talking about where you're carrying responsibility that simply isn't yours to carry. And this has been such a huge topic of conversation always throughout my 15 years of coaching and consulting and advising across the board throughout all industries. This is a through line that comes up with every single client because at the end of the day, we feel so responsible. And what I know about entrepreneurial women is that we were built different. We are so competent, so resourceful, so ambitious. We have a higher level of capacity to carry far more than the average person, right? And also that same competence can become really dangerous because we are always pushing our capacity. We're always trying to evolve. We have this ambition and this desire for greater and bigger and better and more. And also sometimes we get so lost in that we ignore that we are carrying responsibilities that we actually don't have to anymore. What I see as the root issue that continues to come up time and time again is that we are holding together broken systems, broken relationships. We're holding these together. We've become the glue, we've become the duct tape, and we're doing it with our energy. And because of that, we feel cognitively overwhelmed or exhausted a lot of the time. And when you add motherhood on top of entrepreneurship, we have this double layered effect that we are holding on to so much that we have to do, so much that we have to be for others, so many emotions. And it is just, unless you are in this position, you just don't understand. And I believe that we are a different breed, right? We are a little bit crazy. We are addicted to stretching our capacity. We're obsessed with growth and development. And none of this is bad. But the issue is that because this is our natural character, we become these really evolved and competent people that then it creates this obligation and expectations from others that we didn't know we were signing up for. So the more reliable we become, the more knowledgeable we become, the more evolved we become, the more that we learn, the more that we grow, the more people are handing to us, the more people are expecting of us. And eventually, what this turns into is we become the decision maker for everything. We're the emotional regulator. We set the tone, the temperature, if you will. We're the quality control department. We're the backup plan. We're the party planner. We're the person who's remembering everything until we don't, right? You become the person who is saving every deadline, knowing every task, and you are the person who notices when things are missing, right? And none of these roles that have become your responsibility were necessarily something that you chose or purposely assigned to yourself, right? And it was just things kept accumulating over time, right? Because of your position, because of your character, because of who you are, because of how you show up, because of how you lead, because of how you give to everybody around you. And we have to remember that just because you're capable of carrying something doesn't mean that it has to belong to you. Doesn't mean that you actually have to hold the responsibility for that. And just because we can doesn't mean we should. Right? We've heard this a million times before. And as somebody who really believes in radical responsibility and believes in always going and looking at ourselves first, looking in that mirror to reflect back to us, like, what could I have done better? I also know that radical responsibility and taking personal ownership and recognition of how we're enabling patterns in our lives and our choices is not about over assuming responsibility. It's not about proving to everybody that we can do it all. Radical responsibility is ownership of your choices. It's realizing that you're the creator of your life. It's your ownership of your standards. It's ownership of your choices, of your communication, your boundaries, your responses. It's ownership of the things that you know are not working for you. It's ownership and recognition that I'm responsible of these things that I'm allowing to stay broken. It's ownership of the roles that you continue accepting yourself, but go above and beyond that, right? And we carry so much silent weight that creates suffering. And in this conversation I was having the other day about the heartbeat and the core of the Mom Founders Table as this brand, which is the mastermind, the podcast, and the events, our differentiator here is really curing the silent suffering that most people mask as being an overachiever. And this movement that we are creating is about curing that silent suffering. It's about curing that silent suffering through events and experiences and the mastermind that create connection, that pull us out of isolation, that give guidance that's based in the foundation of building a life that is just as big as your business. And in the pursuit of creating these things, because we are mothers, because we're caregivers, because we're overgivers, we know that we have to take personal responsibility for our life. But there's this line that we continually cross, and this silent weight that we're carrying that's creating suffering that we're choosing. Hey, before we hop back in the episode, I need to tell you something. And this is especially for the woman who has been listening to the show for a while now. I know you're running a business. I know you're really good at what you do. And I know that your business results have shown that. And I know you're also in this uncomfortable position where you are seeking what's next. You know that something has to change in the way that you're running your business and the way that you're operating inside of your business. And you're too busy to figure out exactly what those blind spots are and how to fill them. And I know this feeling because I've lived it. I've also been in a mastermind that I paid $25,000 for, and I was just another number, another person on her roster. And so when I built the Mom Founders Table Mastermind, I built it with my private advisory in mind. This means that all of my advisory is coming from knowing your business and knowing you at a deeper level. So this isn't like any other mastermind that you've ever been in. This is private advisory where we give you a full assessment, a full analysis. We're doing quarterly reviews for you. We're giving you your priorities. We're identifying your blind spots. We're making sure that you are fully taken care of. So that way, the connections, the community, the retreat, the City Girls event, all of that becomes an added layer that makes the experience that much more rich. So I want you to really think about what you've built and where you're going, and know that you're going to have somebody in your corner that can identify those blind spots and help you become the who you need to be to run the next version of your business, while also giving you the strategic guidance of the how. And this is what is inside the Mom Founders Table Mastermind. You can see all the details about it at the link down in the show notes. So head down there, check it out, and I'll see you inside. Because we're not responsible for other adults' emotions, right? How many times have you felt responsible for your team's emotions? Or how many times have you held on to a team member for too long because you're afraid of letting them go, how that would make them feel? We're not in charge of other people's emotions. We're not in charge or responsible for other people's lack of preparation or execution. We're not responsible for our clients' execution, which is hard. You're not responsible for your team's motivation. You're not responsible for every single outcome in your business. You're not responsible for problems that people are actually capable of solving themselves. Responsibility is about owning your part, what you actually have control over. Over functioning is owning everybody else's part. And this is where most women sit, right? We have to become more aware of what is this line, because the over functioning is the thing that's mentally draining us. So we have to ask ourselves the question of like, why are we doing this? Why are we running our businesses like this? We are the people that are inflicting the pain, that are creating the chaos, that are perpetuating the overwhelm. And it's because when you're the person who's holding everything together, it makes you feel important. It does. It's a false sense of control. It makes you feel like there's certainty. You'll be validated a lot by other people, right? To where you're like, oh my gosh, you're congratulated, you're recognized for overgiving. And it creates this closeness and proximity that makes us feel connected, but actually it's our way of trying to control. It creates this proof of us being a valuable contributor to the world. It protects us from being replaceable. So a lot of times I'll hear women say, they're like, I would love to be able to step away and work less in my business, right? I would love to not have to carry everything, or like, I would love to see things move without me having to initiate all the time. But then what I see is that she's repeatedly intervening with all the things to ensure that basically she's ensuring that what she wants can't be created because of this. So that's where we have to ask ourselves a question of like, does the business need you because your involvement is strategic and required and valuable? Or is it because you've trained everybody around you to be dependent on you? And most times it's the latter. And I've had so many conversations with clients about relationship dynamics inside the business and outside the business. And I'm like, people only behave certain ways because everybody's feeling each other out. And we're constantly trying to see like, okay, how do they respond when I do this? And what happens if I do this? And it's like, if there's a dynamic that you don't like, it's because you've allowed that dynamic to be created, whether that's in a personal setting or a business setting. But you have the ability to be so clear on what your standards are, on what your boundaries are, to communicate these things so people are very clear on your expectations. But a lot of women stay silent and they assume responsibility. And everybody wants to be liked. And what we don't realize is that when we operate that way, it's training people to be dependent on us because it makes us feel important. It feeds our ego and it's giving us what we think is purpose. But what you don't realize is that it's actually weakening the people around you. So when I bring my clients' attention to this, to where I'm like, that when you take something back from them, it makes them think that you don't think they're capable. It disempowers them. And they're like, well, that's not my intention. It's just like, it didn't meet my standards. And I'm like, yes. And so you have told them when you take it back and fix it for them that you don't think they can do it. But like, if your child comes to you, they want to learn something new and they're like, hey, can you help me with this math problem? You take this math book and you take it away from them and you do the math problem and hand it back to them. Are they going to learn math? No, of course not. Right? But what they will learn is that you don't think they're capable of doing math. What they will learn is that, oh, I don't actually have to do this. I'll just bring it to my mom and she'll do it for me. And we do this in our businesses. So in this effort to be the person that feels important and do everything for everybody, it's actually having the opposite effect. When you repeatedly step in for your team, they are going to stop developing their own judgment or discernment. And people are constantly waiting for your approval, right? They're permission seeking versus being these resourceful people that take initiative, which is what we say we want, which are the same things that build confidence. So accountability is going to feel really unclear. Like, am I responsible? Like, this is on my job description, but like, she's doing it. So I'm confused. And I hear it all the time of like, I wish my team would take more initiative. And I'm like, well, do they have to? Like, what happens if somebody doesn't take initiative? Like, if you've always taken initiative and you're expecting other people to take initiative, like, have you stopped? Right? If everybody learns that you're eventually going to come rescue them, then you're going to continue to stack up evidence that you can't delegate. You're going to continue to build in that belief in your brain of like, well, I can't hand stuff off because look at all this stuff that's dependent on me. It's a hard truth to swallow, right? It's not fun to recognize that, but that rescuing that you're doing, the fixing that you're doing, the cleanup that you're doing, it's one of the reasons why it's why your delegation doesn't work. Because when we actually fix what we're carrying, there's a difference in emotional weight and physical weight, right? When we look at a very full calendar, which is also your choice, versus our emotional weight that we carry, emotional weight is heavier than the weight of time. Emotional weight is the thing that keeps us up at night. Emotional weight is the thing that keeps us on all the time. So I want you to think about the responsibilities that you have. I want you to think about where you're stepping in, that you now knowing that when you step in, you're disempowering that person you said was responsible for it. Before you step in, before you claim responsibility for something, you need to ask yourself, like, is this actually mine? Is this in my job description? I will have clients do their own job description because I'm like, your business is growing. You have this full team. So what's your job? Have you done your job description? What's your role? What's your responsibilities, right? And asking yourself, like, is this actually my responsibility? And am I the only person that can do it? And if you're the only person that could do it, your next question becomes, why am I the only person that could do it? Have I not created an SOP because I haven't taken the time, because I don't feel like that's important, even though AI has made it so easy to literally record a loom and create an SOP like as you're doing the task, and then you never have to do it again. So what happens if you stop rescuing them? Right? What happens if you stop stepping in all the time? Before we step back, we want to make sure that our team has the tools and the resources. Before we step back, we want to make sure our children or whoever we're delegating to has the tools and the resources. Of course. But like, I want to raise confident kids. And I think that part of raising confident kids is letting them see what they are capable of, right? And so we're confident in our abilities and in our work. And this is the way that we've built successful businesses because we know we're capable. We're just stretching that into overfunction by assuming responsibility for all these other things. And when you stop rescuing, when you start to ask yourself the question of like, what actually happens when I step away? And you start to build the tools and the resources and the coaching or whatever is needed to fill the gaps, then you're solving the real problem, right? Like, if I stop stepping in, my sales are going to go down. Okay, why? Let yourself go down that rabbit hole. Well, they're not trained in sales. Okay, can we get them sales training? Can they read a book? Like, why are they not trained there? You're assuming responsibility for things that you have capable people around you to do. Are you going back and forth and reviewing everything? Are you just taking it away and fixing it? Or are you fixing it and recording and telling them, here's what I fixed, here's why I fixed it, so they could actually do it next time? Right? Are we actually training people, or are we just doing it, cleaning it up and handing it back? Now, hardest question is like, am I maintaining this responsibility because it's actually necessary? Or am I maintaining this because it feels safe? Because it's what I know, because it's what I've always done, right? Your responsibilities fall into what you own, which is what truly requires your judgment, your leadership, or your presence. What you delegate is where somebody else owns the outcome. What you teach, this is, okay, somebody else needs some sort of skill set before ownership can transfer. We need to provide them tools and resources. And then releasing things, like these are things that don't need to be done at all. Your responsibilities fall into these 4 places, right? Your responsibilities, what you delegate, what you teach, and what you release. It's not your job to manage everybody's emotions in your family or in your team. It's also not your job to anticipate everybody's needs around you. It's not your job to manage the household calendar. It's not your job to be the only party planner. It's not your job to solve problems before anybody experiences or feels any sort of consequence. We're a big fan of natural consequences in this house. The other day, Cameron went on this little adventure to play soccer with his friends, and he followed them to somebody's house, and we have a rule of not going into somebody's house, and he didn't go in, but because he followed them over there, he didn't know where he was. He got lost for a little bit. So he came home and he was crying. I'm like, man, he's like, I'm never following somebody to their house again. I'm like, I'm glad you learned that. Right? If he hadn't experienced that, he wouldn't have learned that lesson. And we're not allowing people to experience things because we're trying to control everything. You're not responsible for feeling guilty because you've disappointed somebody. At what point do we realize it's actually okay to disappoint people? I know that we don't want to. I know we want everybody to like us, but you can separate these two things. You can recognize that somebody's disappointed, that that's their emotion, that that's their experience, that that's valid, and recognize that you made the right choice for yourself. Every request that comes to you isn't an obligation. You have full control over what you say yes to. This is about reclaiming agency and autonomy and the flexibility that we say we want. There's been a ton of tension and hardship in this season of having things in my life that are legitimately demanding. Moving my family across the country, selling our house, buying a new house. We're building a complete new business vertical, all the responsibilities of raising children, taking care of my clients, communicating with my team. Like, it's a lot. You know, we have a new family rhythm. My kids are homeschooled. They are not going back to school. It's like, at this point, never say never, right? But it's like there are seasons where things are going to be legitimately demanding, but we can choose the level, right? We can make it worse by assuming responsibility for things that aren't ours. Because as I mentioned earlier, emotional weight is much heavier, right? We have to be able to distinguish between what only we can do, where we can lead, what we've chosen, what other people can do, what can remain a little messy, and what no longer deserves our energy. I've had to reallocate and redistribute and reprioritize multiple times. And there's stuff that I catch myself, even when it's like the moving stuff, right? Because I naturally assume the role of like, okay, I'm the planner, so I have to do the planning. So then it's like, okay, we got to find movers. And then I'm like, wait, Eric is perfectly capable. Like just yesterday, he set up all of our utilities at our new house. He's a grown ass man. Like, I don't need to do that. Right? The more that we can delegate things out that don't actually require us, the more that we can learn to let go of carrying the emotional responsibility, the happier we're going to be. I don't want your life to feel heavy. I want your life to be hard sometimes so that you can learn. I want you to have seasons where you feel like you're pushing and stretching your capacity. And I want you to also always be becoming someone who is more discerning about what you carry. Because at the end of the day, what you carry is your choice. And so I hope that today you remember that everything that's on your plate, emotionally, physically, tactically, is your choice. And you can choose something different. And if you're in a season where you're like, I'm carrying a lot, I really need to be around other women who get it. I need to be able to organize and reprioritize. And I really want to be part of something that is deeper than business, where I feel connected, where I feel understood, where I feel seen. I want to have advisory and guidance that's for my business, that somebody can fill these gaps and see things that I don't see. And I'm somebody with big dreams and goals and desires and ambition, then you need to be inside the Mom Founders Table Mastermind. Because the women in this mastermind have built really incredible businesses and they want to build big lives to match it. They want to be able to show up for their kids and show up for themselves and get their health back and get their life back, and not do that in a way to where it's like, well, I guess I have to wind my business down to be able to be a person outside my business, because that's not the case. Right? So if that's speaking to you, if you're somebody who deeply cares about your happiness, your fulfillment, your health, and you want to be able to prioritize those things without you having to step off the gas pedal of your business that feels so scary, I want you to really consider joining us inside. If the only way that you know how to continue running your business, leading your business, and making lots of money is by continuing to be the person that is responsible for everybody and everything, then come and let me show you a new way. because I have been giving women permission and activating them into doing things differently and disrupting and doing this for 15 years. And I promise you that this is an experience that you will not regret. You will make connections that last a lifetime. You will finally get the advice, the permission, the guidance, the strategic change that is not generic, that is going to actually work for you long term. Because I just don't even know how to do quick fixes. So we will put the link for the mastermind. I would recommend that if you are even thinking about the mastermind, just to send me a message, because I think a lot of times we count ourselves out, or we're not sure. We're like, oh, I'm so busy. It's a busy season. I don't want to add anything. This should feel like relief. This should feel like coming home. This should feel like, oh my goodness, thank goodness that I have this space. So please send me a DM on Instagram. I'm always there to answer questions and make sure that you make the most clear, confident, and empowered choice. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here this week. And I will see you guys next week.